guys. Today we are here to talk about 4 steps to building a Rockstar team. And we're going to dive all into that for the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Kristin with Our DJ Rocks out of Orlando, Florida. I own Our DJ Rocks, which is an all-female DJ company, and the brand Photo Booth Rocks, which is a photo booth rental company. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, I started Our DJ Rocks 10 years ago, so we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary, which is super exciting. And honestly, my goal was to never, ever, ever have a team. I thought that I couldn't train someone to do it like I could. And then organically, things just started to grow. And at this point, 10 years later, we've got 35 team members. We have 6 full-time office staff, 2 of which are sales and marketing managers. And then I've got 10 DJs doing events all across Florida and sometimes outside of Florida. So what I will definitely disclose is that hiring, training, and managing people was not a strength of mine. So I didn't have a choice as the company started to grow to really lean into that and learn, how do I build a team? How do I make sure that we can continue to grow? And so that's what I really want to share with you guys today. And we'll just jump right in. So I'm going to walk you guys through some steps. So first and foremost, when you're building a team, you've got to decide when. Your second step is going to be core values, your mission, and your vision. Step 3 is going to be you creating the actual role, and then you're going to need to recruit. And then we're going to dive into something that I call GWC, and that's how you're going to make your decision. So let's start off with a really funny meme. You're probably like, why do I even need to think about hiring right now? Because you may be like Mr. Tiger King himself, thinking, I'm never going to financially recover from this. But guess what? We're all going to recover from this, right? Like, and I want you guys to look at this situation as an opportunity to kind of build when the job market is going to be the most available that you could possibly get. So here's your why. So there's this book, and I'll share with you guys at the very end, but part of that is going through the process in your head of what are the stages, right? So in this current time that we are in, you've got stage 1, we're all shocked, right? We don't really know what to do. Then we go into a little bit of overreacting. You guys saw that, the first 4 or 5 weeks of this situation that we're going through. Then you start thinking to yourself, okay, what do I need to evaluate? What do I need to change in my business, whether it's operationally or from a sales perspective? Then you get to the next stage, which is your action. So what are the strategies? How are you going to rebound from this? How can you make it to where you are stronger on the other side? And that's where I really want you guys to be thinking of from that headspace today, because that's when you're going to get to the point where you have a surge, you have a burst, you have growth, and that's really where we need to be. So look at this as an opportunity, because we're going to slay on the other side of this. So let's jump in. Let's start talking about step 1. Ask yourself, when is the right time to hire? I remember asking myself this question a million times. I don't know. Do I hire now? How do I know if I have the money? So I'm going to give you guys a process and questions that you can ask yourself so that you can get to the yes on this. So first question to ask yourself and to answer is, are you losing sales or revenue? So in this moment in time, if you do not have an extra person on your team, is it causing you a loss of future revenue? Next question I want you to ask yourself is the project or task giving you so much anxiety that it's stopping you from moving forward? So let me explain this. As business owners, we wear multiple hats, right? It starts off, we're the creative, and then we're the one in operations, we're executing it. Then on the other side of that, we've got to blog that. And then once we blog it, then we've got to share the social proof. And then we're showing that to a potential new client in order to get the new sale. So we're doing all of the things, right? And so the question becomes, at what point during that process is there something that is just, you're dreading it, you don't love doing it? For me, when I started the business, it was blogging. I don't want to do it, but I know I have to do it. So could I delegate that to someone to free my time up to grow the business? So I know where my strengths are, and it's in talking to new couples and getting them excited about their wedding so that they book us into the future, not necessarily blogging. So there's an example of that. So I want you guys to really dig deep and think, is there something, whether it's blogging, I'll give you another example. For me, it was the bookkeeping side of things. I'm super organized. I've got spreadsheets for days, but the physical, like, categorizing of all the expenses was a waste of my time. So that was another thing that I delegated. And you guys can start small. You can have a virtual assistant. You can use upwork.com to kind of delegate some things. Fiverr is another good resource. So next question I want you to ask yourself is there someone else that is better, faster, or smarter than you to complete a certain project or task? My example on here was bookkeeping. Again, it wasn't something I needed to do. Blogging is another one of those huge ones too. So it's just another way to look at things. Another question you can ask yourself is, can you afford to delegate the tasks you don't have to do or you want to do so that it frees you up to grow the company? So one example of this is processing contracts and payments. Obviously, once a couple does decide to book with us, we put that in our system, we add in the payment, we send a booking confirmation, we send a receipt, and then we also have a process afterwards of kind of like onboarding the client. And I decided at a certain point in time, that wasn't something that necessarily needed me to do it. So if there's something in your process, whether that is selling, whether that is onboarding, whether that is something the day of the event, maybe you've got something on the event preparation side that you don't necessarily have to do, but really look at and ask yourself, is there something here that I don't have to do that I could pay someone else to do? Another question you could ask yourself is, have you added new streams of revenue to your company and there's no one to manage it? For us in the very beginning, it was things like we added photo booth services, custom monograms, market lights. Someone had to manage that. If a client wanted to buy a custom monogram at some point during the process, someone had to take the order of that, process the order, get it in, and get it ready to go, which is, of event management, right? So again, this is all going to start to make sense, because if you are asking yourself all these questions and you start making yourself a list, you'll end up almost building a little position, right? Or, you could even hire an intern or whatnot. Another example of if you've added streams of revenue, right now in this day and age, a lot of people are live streaming. So for us, it hasn't turned into full-fledged revenue stream, but we are live streaming a lot, and someone on our team has to manage that. So we've actually divvied that up into 2 different people. All right, next question I want you to ask yourself is, you are sold, or at least think about. So have you gotten to the point where you are sold out and you have an influx of more leads that you could sell, but you need more staff? So this is something that we're actually experiencing right now as a result of what's happening in the world. We had, from the end of March through the end of June. So let's see, so 9 weeks of weddings that moved from that part of the calendar to another part of the year, which means that took our inventory for fall, some of spring, and now we're getting to the point where we're sold out. So any brides that are calling us now, our availability has lessened. It's kind of like, when you look at seats on an airline, right? There's only so many of those. So once you're sold out, you're out. So we're in the process of thinking, okay, should we start our recruiting process a little bit sooner rather than waiting all the way until January? And the answer to that will probably be yes. And I'll share with you throughout the presentation why that should be. So again, if you've answered yes to any of these things, like losing revenue, is there someone else better to do it? Is it keeping you from growing, meaning either do it or delegate it? And can you afford to delegate to someone else? One of the key things I want to share with you guys today is this doesn't have to be at this point in time a full-fledged 40-hour a week with benefits type thing. You know, everybody has to start somewhere. So you can use this guidance no matter what size business you are, whether you are one person or whether you are a team of 3 or whether you're a team of 10. These are just questions that can kind of get you going a little bit. And again, if it's not a full-time position, you can look at things like a virtual assistant or a subcontractor. Maybe it's just project work that you subcontract through a Fiverr or an Upwork or something like that. So you can really get creative with this. Again, it doesn't have to be a full-time 40-hour a week type thing. So let's jump into step 2. This one is probably my most favorite. It is core values, mission, and vision. And I think that this is my favorite because this is going to start guiding you on, okay, when it is time, here's your kind of guideline of how you make sure that you bring on the right people and you put them in the right seats, right? So if you've not done this already, I want to encourage you to define what your core values are, because this is how you're going to start to lead your team. When they ask you questions, and just like myself, sometimes they ask me questions and I have no idea the answer to that. However, if I look back at our set of core values, our mission, and our vision, usually I can find the answer to that through one of those things. So your core values are the behaviors that you're going to do daily, weekly, and monthly to help you win at your mission. So I kind of defined it by saying these values are so specific that there's no gray area, right? You and your team must be able to use these as your guidelines of how you're going to get to where you want to go. So just a little activity for you guys is to write down 5 values that resonate with you. And I think at the end of the day, what I want to encourage you guys to do, you can do this if you are a team of 1, and you can also do this if you are a team of, let's say, 5, right? So if you are a team of 1, I want you to look at your inner self, and I want you to say, what are the things that make me unique as a business owner? The top 5. And those are the things that you are going to look for in whoever you want to be on your team. Second example to that is if you were a team of, let's say, 5, because our DJ Rocks, we did not define what our core values were until about, I think, 5-6 years in. And I was like, okay, we really have to do this, right? So I not only asked myself, what are the things that make me unique to launch our DJ Rocks, but what are the things that I saw in, you know, the 5 staff members that I had on my team that made them Rockstar status, right? And so out of that, we kind of threw things at the wall and then narrowed it down. So again, 5 values that resonate with you. Here's some examples for you guys. Once you do write these down, I would love for you to share them. So make sure that you are doing that with Swell Events. And then you can also tag at Meet Kristin, because I'd love to brainstorm that process with you as well. So I'll give you guys a little screenshot of what we kind of narrowed down. We have our 5 core values, and then we've kind of defined them. Number 1 for us was integrity and gratitude. I feel like more than anything else as a DJ, we are all at separate events on any given day, so we're not all together. So being able to show good character, not only when you're at an event, when you're not at the office, was super duper important. Positive attitudes and charisma. I mean, my goal is for every single one of our girls and even our photo booth team members to be able to walk into the room and infuse the room with energy and personality without even having to play a song. Unshakable commitment. We all know that when it comes to the wedding industry specifically, that we're making a huge commitment to our couples. So with us making that promise, I want our team to give us that promise too. And then of course, growth. We always want to get better than we were yesterday. And we always want to raise the bar and set it really high. And then we value moments. And that was important to us too, because not only do we want to create moments at the weddings that we're at, but we want to create moments outside of that so that we can try to live a healthy and balanced life so that we can be not only the best for each other, but we're the best for our clients. So just a little bit of inspiration for you guys as you start to build that if you don't have those already. So let's jump into your mission. So this is going to help you answer the question, how do you intend to get the wedding? Your mission should motivate you. It should inspire your entire team, and it should really focus on something that is greater than what's right in front of you. As you start to think about what your mission is, you want to ask the questions, why do you exist? We'll let that sink in there just for a minute. That one's heavy. You also want to ask the question, how will you accomplish your vision? So vision is kind of like big picture, like goals so big you can't reach it, and you just hope that one day you can get there. And then your mission is what's going to help you get to that. It's your everyday. Another question you could ask yourself is, what is your competitive advantage? So what makes you different than, you know, the next person down the street? As a DJ company, for us, one of the competitive advantages is that we're an all-female DJ team. And for us, that really resonates with our couples because they feel like we understand them automatically. So I'll share with you what our mission is. It's to love what we do, lead by example, and exceed our clients' expectation through passion and rapport in DJ services and photo booth rentals in the event industry. Hashtag love, lead, excel. So if we infuse that mission, everything that we do, in my opinion, we will succeed. We want to continue to love what we do, no matter how exhausted. We want to lead by example in our industry of DJs. And we always want to exceed our clients' expectations. So decide what you want your mission to be, and that is what is going to lead you every single day. Now, when it comes to your vision, this is the thing this is the outer space guide, right? This is so far out and it's a stretch and you don't know if you're going to get to it. But you know what they say, if you reach for the, what's the quote? If you reach for the moon, you might land among the stars, and that's where we want to be, right? So your vision answers the question, what do you want to become? This should be your ultimate stretch goal, like I said, maybe even never attainable. So why your vision matters, I want to give you guys the why behind this. So number one, it gives you guidance and long-term direction. So I don't know if you guys have ever felt this way, but have you ever just like said to yourself, wait, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What are my goals? And your vision is going to give you that kind of like, in the distance, I know I got to take these few steps because eventually I want to get over there, right? Number two, it's going to give you inspiration and energy when you're feeling lost, right? You can easily get into the everyday hustle and bustle when you're in that busy season, and you've got to give yourself the energy to get through that so that you can get closer to the big goal, right? And then it provides the answer on your really tough questions. There have been many, many times, I'll give you guys an example, where I've been asked to do something, or let's say sponsor an event or DJ something. And then I think to myself, wait, why should I say yes to that? And it really makes me think, like, you know, we all want to help each other. We're in a great community where, you know, if I'm putting on an event, some of my vendor friends could help me put that on. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're saying yes, not only to help your vendor partners, but also, is it going to get you closer to what your end goal is? You know what I mean? So if you've got a mission and a vision, it will also help you answer those questions as well. This one's huge, you guys. If you don't aim for anything, you might not hit anything. So again, you've got to look at and you've got to say, okay, what's my giant goal? How am I going to get there? What are the things I'm going to say yes to that gets me there? What are the things do I have to say no to so I can have more room for yeses? Otherwise, you're just kind of shooting in the dark, right? So I want to give you some examples of some vision statements. These are really simple, but these are like big, big brand stuff, right? So Walt Disney World, to make people happy. Boom. 4 words, but absolutely huge. I wish I could have narrowed mine down to 4 words, but I couldn't. All right. So another one I'll give you an example is Nike. I love this brand. You know, if you guys are ever questioning, you know, what you should do with branding or marketing, I would encourage you to just Google the big brands and see what they're doing. I love this one. So for Nike, it is bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And then in parentheses, if you have a body, you are an athlete. Yes. I can 100% see that in all the products that they make, right? And if you look at a brand like Nike, I mean, they're creating sportswear and shoes, and I don't even know their entire product line, but do you see how kind of out in space their vision is? And so if they are, let's say somebody comes to them and says, hey, will you endorse this energy drink? We want to add it to the line of Nike. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing here. So if there ever was a decision to be made, they can look and they can say they want to be the inspiration and innovation to every athlete. Maybe that will help them make the decision if they should say yes or no to that. Apple, I mean, hello, who would not use this brand as an example? Their vision is to produce high quality, low cost, easy to use products that incorporate high technology for an individual. Well, first of all, it's not low cost anymore. Thank you, Apple. But it just kind of shows you, you know, it gives them direction, right? It gives them the easy to answer. So for our DJ Rocks, ours is to be known, respected, and followed in the event industry as one of the only all-female DJ multi-operations in the US. I tell you what, that gives me chills every time I read it, and I almost want to tear up a little bit because when I wrote that down, I'm like, oh my gosh, my microphone's moving. I don't even want to write this down. People are going to think I'm crazy. Like, is this too big of a goal? And honestly not. I can't tell you guys how many times there have been situations where I've said, you know what? I think I'm going to have to say no to this because that's not going to get me closer to the mission. And there have been times where I've said yes because I'm like, you know what? This has nothing to do with, you know, the amount of events I have to DJ, or it's maybe not directly going to help me pay the rent this month. But I know that if I want to be known and respected in my world, maybe I have to say yes to doing that, right? So it definitely helps with direction for sure. So let's talk about this. So why is this step so important? And I feel like a broken record, but we'll kind of bullet point what we just went over. But number one, it gives you a clear picture of who you are looking for your team. Number two, it gives you and your team guidance and direction, not only you as the owner and the individual, but also for your team and also for you to manage them. Number three, it's going to give you inspiration and motivation, again, when you probably need it the most. And four, it is going to provide the answers for your tough questions. So that is why your core values, your mission, and your vision are going to be so crucial to this step. And please, please, please do me a favor. Do not skip this. Do not skip it. Even if they have to evolve or change over time, I encourage you, this is going to be key, because the next question you're probably going to ask me is, how do I make the decision if the person I'm wanting to hire is the right fit? And then I'm going to tell you, look at your core values and check mark those. Do they match those? Just a little resource for you guys. If you want to know a little bit more about our process of coming up with our core values, mission, and vision, when we had it live, we wrote a blog post on it. So you're more than welcome to check that out. We also made a core values and mission video, and you can check that out at rdjrocks.com/mission. And so I kind of wrote up what our thought process was and how we went through that. And so hopefully that will help you guys a little bit. Okay, so step 3. So we are almost halfway through. Once you've gone through the process, step 1 and step 2, now what we need to do is we need to create the role and we need to recruit. These are going to be key. So I just want to share with you guys what's going on in the world right now. Because again, some of you may be thinking, why in the heck do I need to be recruiting right now? The amount of events we're doing is down. I don't have an influx of, incoming leads, all the things, right? And I'm going to tell you the why you should do it. So these are just some facts. In the week ending in April 11th, which now we're already 6 weeks past that, there were 5,245,000 new unemployment claims, 22 million total. So what that means is the job market for a small business owner has now opened up. So if you weren't paying attention to it before, what was happening right before this kind of new world that we were in is it was very difficult to find a new employee whose expectations of the job and what they should get paid were more than any small business could probably afford, in my opinion. And so, in kind of light of all the negative, we can use this as a positive because there is going to be an influx of people who are looking for jobs and probably a little bit more humbled to kind of start from the bottom and really learn from someone who's wanting to teach them. A couple more things I want you guys to think about, and I'm going to do as well, is there is going to be, and I haven't seen it just yet, but it's coming, an increase by 40% of our time for the hiring process because people are ghosting. So what this means is, think of this way. So if we've got right now, or at least at the end of April, 22 million people who filed for unemployment, you've got, I don't even know the percentage of how many more people are looking for jobs. And so if you put yourself in that person's situation and they're going online and they're searching and they're like, okay, I'm looking for jobs, right? They're going to apply for more than one position. They might apply for 5, maybe 8 positions. And so instead of replying back to everybody saying, no, I found something else, we as the person hiring are going to find that a lot of people are just going to ghost. It also may get to the point where you have to look and you have to say, okay, if, 5 months ago I was scheduling 5 interviews, maybe now I'm going to have to schedule 10 interviews because half of them aren't going to show up. And again, it's kind of twofold. We've got a lot of opportunity on the table, but at the same time, we have to understand that this is kind of the environment that we're playing in right now. And as long as we are aware of these things, I think that we can find our diamonds in the rough for sure. So I'll just throw out a couple more statistics for you guys. The change in job openings in company websites between April 26th and May 17th in Florida were 71%. So, I want to say everyone's doing it, so let's go. But yeah, I mean, people are job searching. Now, here's what I will share with you. This is just kind of my take on things. In my opinion, as a small business, and I don't have an entire HR department, I have delegated things, but really the hiring is on me because I want to make sure that every person on our team is close and they're passionate and they care, right? If I look at this kind of job market thing, and if I see statistics like that where it says, okay, this was literally just 30 days ago and 71% of companies are now hiring, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let me try to catch this thing on round 2, where the majority of them may already have a full-time job so that I can catch them on the other side, because what we're doing is not going to give them a full-time income with benefits, because what I'm going to be recruiting for is DJs, event staff, and really that's, seasonal and weekend things. And then I'll just share with you guys something else that I found online too, the decrease in job postings by sector. So I mean, to me, this was kind of obvious. Hospitality was the largest, and that's because when you live in a place like we do, Florida, right, and you've got the big guys like Universal and Disney shutting down, of course, they're not going to be hiring. So I think what I would take out of this is, let's get people back to work a little bit, but let's start working on our plan right now. For us, we typically don't do a lot of hiring over the summer and even fall, but I'm thinking this is something that I would really want to spend my time on and invest on getting really great people now. I also think that people are going to be looking to kind of get caught back up, meaning, what I was finding at the beginning of the year and even into last year is that people didn't want side jobs. They didn't want to work 40 hours a week and then go work on the weekend. But I'm going to go ahead and predict that that's probably going to change because they want to build back up those savings accounts, and their behavior are going to change a little bit. So I think for us, our biggest challenge is going to be finding the right people. There's going to be a lot of them, but it's really going to be narrowing it down and figuring out, okay, who truly is the best fit. Number one, the best fit for the company in general, the best fit as far as core values. Do they fit your culture? And based on how you define what the role is and what they're doing, are they going to fit that? So they got big shoes to fill is all I have to say. So let's talk about creating the role. We need to figure out who this person is. You really need to define this. So when we were hiring for our marketing coordinator, actually, no, we were hiring for sales manager last summer. We kind of modeled what we were looking for based on what I'm sharing with you guys on the screen right now. And this was from the company Cultivate What Matters. Love, love, love this brand. And here's what they did. They said, our new marketing coordinator and project manager is a master of creating project plans and seeing them through. She or he is a fast learner. They have fantastic attention to detail, an uncanny ability to see the big picture. They exude joy. They are eager to be part of the team. They thrive in a fast-paced environment, and they are willing to roll up their sleeves and get to work. So here's what I think this kind of, 3-sentence about is so crucial. If someone is online and they are looking at all these different job roles, right? They need to be able to think to themselves, can I see myself in that role overall, right? And then they need to be able to answer the questions, can I do the things that they're asking me to do? So as you start to build whatever this role is, first step is write down the about. What overall is this person doing? And how are they kind of fitting in your team? So next, you're going to want to write down the tasks and the responsibilities that are kind of like the big overall picture of what they're going to be doing. If you want to, and this is what really helped me, is I literally just started throwing everything in a Google Doc of what I thought they were going to do just to kind of get it out. And then I kind of blocked those things together as overall themes so that I can narrow it down. Because the other thing you don't want to do is have a list of 50 tasks items, right? So if you can kind of throw it all on paper and then reorganize it and summarize it, that would be great. So for example, for that particular role, it was number one is brand development, which is reinforcing and extending their Cultivate What Matters brand through imagery, storytelling, and particularly on social media channels. Number two, this person would be doing their social media strategy and writing. And then obviously you guys can read from there. So I think if you can, again, throw the spaghetti at the wall, so some of my friends say, and then kind of narrow that down to maybe 5 main bullet points of what they're going to do. That's what's going to tell them, am I going to enjoy this every day when I go to work, right? These are the daily, these are the weekly tasks that they're going to need to do. And you want to make sure that you really, really define this, right? Because what if as business owners, we fail on this part and then we get them in this role and they were like, wow, this is nothing of what I was thinking I was going to do. And then at that point, you're spending time and resources and most importantly, money that we as small business owners don't have that the big corporations do to kind of do this whole process over again. I will tell you that for me, this was a daunting task. I hated it. I hated having to write down the description and like what they're going to be doing, but it truly helped me define that. And I think that once I started that process, and I have not skipped that process every time I've hired, it has helped me and the turnover. I feel like the first 5 years of the business that I didn't do this, there definitely was a lot of turnover. And once I got to this point, that really, really helped. And obviously I want to look at things from a perspective for every one of my team members of making sure that I am communicating well to them so that they can communicate to me. I want them to be able to learn and grow from us while we're still growing our business. So I think it definitely is a partnership. Okay, guys, when you're creating the role, I want you to make it really fun, right? Or if it's not going to be fun, make it the most representation of your brand. For us, we're an all-female DJ company, so obviously we've got to have energy, we got to bring great vibes. So for us, we really want our communication to stand out. So instead of, you know, a Word document with a white background and black words, we put together a flyer and we said, okay, guys, we're looking for a scheduling coordinator. This person is positive, charismatic, loves people, adapts well to change because we are ever changing in our office, has leadership skills, is a team player. So we kind of wrote down like all the things that this person is. And then we said, what is this person going to do? They're going to manage the schedule. They're going to inventory the equipment. They're going to follow up with future and past couples. They're going to contribute to operational meetings. And you can kind of read through those bullet points. Those would truly be the daily and weekly things that we would expect that person to do constantly for us. And then obviously call to action. We're looking for someone who's excited to jump in and tackle everything. Send over your resumes. Boom. So I want you guys to think about when you get to the step of recruiting, how are you going to quote unquote advertise this? So in my mind, when it comes to human resources, recruiting, bringing on new team members, it's the same thing as bringing on and attracting new brides. Your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So you want to make sure that you're putting things out that feel like you. Oh my gosh, funny story, speaking of this. So when I was in college, and I think it was like my sophomore year, I needed to look for a new roommate. And you know how like on college campuses, they have like those billboards, right? And then like they put out the little flyers of like, hey, looking for a roommate, like grab a thing. Well, I would go through those and I'd like, oh, boring, 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 boring. Oh, that one, not even a cute font. Oh my God, you use Comic Sans? No way. But there was one flyer that was up there. And it was, I think, hot pink and orange, and it said looking for a roommate. And I grabbed the little thing, I called her. Her name was Heather. She was literally just like her flyer. We ended up becoming best friends. I was in her wedding party, but same concept, right? You want to put things out there that are going to attract the type of people that want to be around you. And I think that really goes across the board for everything. No matter if you're recruiting for team members, new brides, or college roommates. All right, so let's talk about characteristics. So if someone is interested in applying for the job, what is the checklist of things that they need to say to themselves? Because what I want you to do is I want you to get to the point where on the other side of that computer screen, in their head, they're going, oh, yeah, that's me. Oh, yes, that's me too. Oh my God, I'm just like that. So that by the end of that, they're like, boom, I need to apply for this job. Once you do those things, which again, we'll back up real quick. Let's go back. So to give you an example of the characteristics, look right here at the top of the screen, and it's things like positivity, charismatic, excellent verbal and written communication. Are you self-motivated? So that's what I mean when I talk about characteristics. Again, you want them going through the checklist. You want them by the end of whatever they're looking at to be like, okay, yes, that's me. Yes, I would enjoy doing all those bullet points. And oh my gosh, I want to work with this company. Now, once we have all of that, it is time to recruit. This is where I feel like it actually starts to get a little bit fun because, right, we've gone through an entire process already. So I want to share with you guys different ways that you can recruit this. Now, in my opinion, you've got to look at it a couple different ways. You look at it from how can I pull from the kind of tribe and circle that I already know, whether that be associations you're a part of, whether that be, you know, even your group here with Swell, right? Reach out to the business owners that you know who are part of this community and say, hey guys, I'm hiring. If you know anybody, attached is the flyer, send them my way, have them send resumes by X date. You want to share internally with your team. What if somebody wants to apply internally, or what if they know a friend? You want to post to LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys are already doing that, but you can post your job positions to LinkedIn. If you want to spend a little money on finding someone through LinkedIn, they also have a way that you can pay for ads on there. We have not advertised with money on LinkedIn for event staff, but I have paid for ads on LinkedIn for our office manager. So again, I think you need to look at all the different ways to recruit and figure out where is the person who I'm recruiting going to be spending their time, right? Definitely post to your social media. I think that does one of two things. Obviously, if vendors and past or future clients are following you, they might tell their friends. But I think also too, like by you saying you're hiring, I think that also gives you a little bit of credibility with the market that you have, right? All brides want to know that the company they booked is continuing to grow, or at least not going anywhere, right? The first thing I do, I always send an email to my top 5 influencers. So in your market, is there, or can you make a list of the top 5 people that you know have the biggest kind of Rolodex, right? So I'll usually send it to one big venue. I'll probably send it to somebody in the wedding world. I'll send it to somebody in my corporate world. I might send it to somebody I know at a university. I've got my list of kind of people who know people. What is that saying they say, like one person knows 200 or something like that? It's kind of that whole concept. And then, of course, you can do things like posting on Indeed, other job sites, posting to Craigslist, and then local colleges as well. If you create relationships with them, they can be a great resource for you. Even if let's say you just need to hire somebody for, a one-day kind of, I want to call it semi-large conference that you're working on and you just want volunteers. Sometimes college students will just volunteer for things rather than taking on a full internship for a full semester so that they can kind of figure out, okay, I like this, I don't like this type thing. So I would say make sure that you're creating relationships there as well. Okay, we're covering a lot. This one is probably my favorite, guys. So we went through step 1, we went through step 2 and step 3, and now you've got to make a decision. For me, this was probably the hardest because I thought to myself, okay, I've got a great person sitting in front of me. I really vibed with them in the interview process. On paper, they look great, but like, what if? Like, what if I make a bad decision? How do I know? How do I really, like, where's the checkbox for me? Like, I need an Excel spreadsheet to be like, yes or no. You know what I mean? I want it just to turn green. So this is what I call the GWC. Get it, want it, and capacity to do it. I say this all the time, guys. My team can probably verbatim tell you exactly what this is. So let's define that. I asked myself the question, do they get it? And actually, I'll give you guys kind of another little like golden nugget here, is once someone is a part of your team, I still manage and reward based on these things. At the end of every quarter and at the end of every year, I still say to myself, does this person get it? Do they really get it? And do they want it? And do they have the capacity to do it? So get it. Let's define that real quick. Does the person you're bringing on, or even someone you're managing right now, do they get it? Do they understand your core values? Do they understand your mission? Do they understand your vision? Do they understand your company's personality? That is huge. Do they understand the camaraderie of everyone on your team, which would be your culture? Do they understand how to communicate? Do they understand how you celebrate? And then I think most importantly, do they understand you as a leader? And I think that as leaders and business owners, we can always continue to grow, of course, but I think we need to make sure that our team understands what type of leader we are and how we communicate, how we celebrate. There's a saying that we always say in our offices, we all need to understand how this works. We need to understand our personality styles. We need to make sure we mesh together. And at the end of the day, if you strip away everything, right, because we have a very diverse team. We come from all walks of life. We come from different cultures. We come from different backgrounds. I mean, we are a melting pot for sure. But at the end of the day, when you strip all those things away, we still have our driving core values, and we all get the vision and mission of RDJ Rocks. And that is one step forward of them kind of understanding that. Number two, and it's not even really a number, but do they want it? Like, how bad do you really want this? I can't tell you guys how many times people have applied. Let's say it's for our DJ position, and they are like, yeah, I want to be a part of it. You know, they see our videos online. They think it's fun. Like, heck yeah, the music is fun. And, you know, we get to be a part of weddings. But here's the key piece to that, guys. When they get on the other side of this, and every single person watching this knows, because every single one of us is day of operations. We've got to make these weddings happen. And so I have had countless DJs, once they get into it and they're like, wait, I got to lift this speaker. Wait, I got to walk like 40,000 steps a day in the heat. Like, so how bad do you really want it? One of the things that we implemented in kind of like our onboarding process specifically for the DJ role was, we had interview 1, we have interview 2, and then interview number 3 is a shadow day. And what that is it's unpaid, and they shadow me from the time I get to the warehouse until the time I get home. And at the end of that, if they're like, okay, yeah, I love this, okay, then we'll move to interview number 3. But it really, really gives them a true entire day of what this would be like if they decided to take this role. Because I think explaining it or showing videos, no one is really going to get it until they're in it, right? So I just want to make sure, especially with our DJ role, because it's so unique, that they still want it. And are they motivated by it? I always ask them, like, what do they believe in? What do you believe in? If someone doesn't believe in marriage and commitment, being a wedding DJ probably ain't for you, bro. You know what I mean? Because we are the ones who are creating that celebration of the marriage. And then, do they have passion and drive, or are they just looking for a paycheck? For me, I really don't want anyone on our team that's just looking for a paycheck. I feel like there's plenty of jobs out there that can provide that for you. I really want people who, in the thick of things, are passionate and they have drive. I think that we can kind of all attest to, you know, being a part of creating someone's wedding day is probably the most stressful job we all have. And so to me, when it gets really tough, that's when you're going to have to make sure that there is passion, there's drive, there's motivation, that you get it, that you really want it, because that's what's going to slice you right through all of that. And then finally, when it comes to GWC, is, do they have the capacity to do it? So do they have the ability to physically, financially, and geographically produce the results that you're looking for? And I'll give you guys a couple of examples of this. So what I mean by that is, let's talk real examples. So one time I had a DJ apply, and she said, I said, what's your availability? How many times out of the month do you want to work? And she said, well, I'm thinking like maybe 2 Saturdays a month. And I said, okay. My next question was something along the lines of, what does your weekday availability look like for training? Because on my side, I know what it takes to train, and I know what it takes to teach somebody this skill who's never done it before. It's truly like learning a foreign language. So for us, that means they've got to have at least 4 hours on a Monday through Thursday at some point to do warehouse training and book kind of, textbook training. And then they've got to have a full Saturday to go out with us and practice that. And that needs to happen for at least 8 weeks. So 2 days a week for at least 2 months, just to kind of kick off training. And so if someone doesn't have that kind of availability, I can let them know right then and there, hey, look, you seem great, but this is kind of the availability that we're looking for. Otherwise, I know that they're not going to be able to be successful. I've even had DJs. I had a DJ reach out to me from New York. I've had a DJ reach out to me from Philly, and they're like, hey, I want to be a part of the RDJ Rocks crew. And I'm thinking, well, unless I franchise or go outside of Florida, that's really never going to work. However, I have had someone who's from Seattle, and she's like, hey, I want to be an RDJ Rocks DJ. And I'm like, how do you see that working? And she's like, well, I'm in Seattle, I'm in New York, and now I want to have a Southeast company that I work for. And I was like, okay, cool. So are you going to have equipment that is already down here in Florida? And she goes, yeah, I'm going to buy a set of equipment just to keep it in Florida. And then I said, okay, and what would that look like if we booked you on a Saturday? And she's like, well, I will drive down or fly down from New York on a Thursday, preferably book me on a Friday and Saturday, and I'll fly out on a Sunday. And I'm like, Okay, she had the capacity to do it, right? And I think one of the biggest kind of quotes that kind of sticks in the back of my mind, and my business advisor said this to me 5 years ago. He said, and I'm going to share this with you guys because I think this applies to everyone, is you are the only one who's going to be able to decide if they are the right fit. Everyone's going to want to be a part of what you have built because it's going to be built on success. All they see is the fluff. They just want to be a part of something great, and that's what you are creating, but not everyone's going to cut it. And so you've got to get to the point where you make a really, really smart decision based on everything I'm sharing with you guys today, making sure that you're really picky about who you're bringing onto your team because they're out representing you when you're not there, right? That's important. So let's kind of recap a little bit. So building your Rockstar team timeline. Number one, we talked about how to decide when, right? You've got your questions you're going to ask yourself. Number two is your core values, your mission, and your vision. Make sure you have those clearly written down so that at least it gives you the guidelines and then you know what you're looking for. Step three is creating the role and starting to recruit. And then step number four is helping you decide a yes or a no, which is through GWC. Do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? And this is kind of the formula that I have used over the past 5 years to build our team. It's worked great. Obviously, we still have minor failures. We just kind of tweak it along the way. And then I also want to share with you guys just some tools and books that I've kind of pulled things from here and there to kind of help build all of this. Change the Culture, Change the Game. This was life-changing for me. That book I think I read in 2015 maybe, and it changed the way that I really ran the company altogether. The second book is Traction. This kind of gives you some sort of like building blocks and organizational system as you start to build your business. I really, really also love the book Winning by Jack Welch. He, I believe, was the GM for, he was a CEO for General Motors. And I really loved his approach and how he ran his team. And then the most recent book that I read, this was life-changing for me too, was called The Alliance. And it's about managing your team in a networked age. And what that book is about is basically at one point in time, people went out and they job searched and then they never left a company for 10 to 20 years. And now we're in an age where that's not the case and retirement is just not available. And so that book kind of changed your perspective on being able to go into, I want to call it a relationship with a team member, knowing that they might only be here for 2 years and how you can maximize the best out of that and really take it to a place of not only are they helping you in your business, but you're also giving back to them. And one of the questions I get asked so often is, Kristin, how do you breed loyalty in your team? How are these DJs sticking around with you and not going anywhere else? And it really comes down to, it being a partnership. I help them, they help me. And so that book was life-changing too. So definitely add those to your Amazon list of things to read. I think that they'll help you along the way and give you lots and lots of nuggets. And so I'll leave you guys with this quote and some of my amazing rock stars behind me who help me drive this thing every day. Underneath, you would surely see that the best care passionately about their people, about their growth and their success. And you will also see that they themselves are comfortable in their own skins. They are real, they filled with candor and integrity, optimism, and humanity. And that was a quote from the one book by Jack Welch, Winning. And that really helped me as a leader too, because I think that if they're helping us build, we've got to give back to them too. And that's what's going to build your loyalty. And that's a whole nother presentation on keeping them around for a while, but at least that'll get you guys started on building your rockstar team and making sure that you're choosing the right people. If you want to connect, I encourage you guys to do that. I would love some positivity in my days. So if you do start coming up with your mission, vision, core values, if you find any tidbits along the way as you're recruiting, share with me on Instagram. I'd love to see. And then hopefully soon, in celebration of our DJ Rocks 10-year anniversary, we will be launching the Love Lead Excel podcast. So be on the lookout for that. And hopefully I'll be able to connect with you guys in person in the near future. So on that note, I want to leave it with some Q&A. I'll turn it over to Jordan. If there's any other questions you guys have, I mean, drop me a DM, share it with Jordan. We'll get you an answer. Let's brainstorm. Let's do it, because we're in a time right now where we have really an opportunity to surge on the other side of this. So thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristin. I do want to apologize to everyone, first of all, who had problems getting in. Kristin, I realized while we started that I had sent out the wrong link. So that was totally on me. So if you did join us late, this is being recorded and it'll go out by 5 o'clock today. You'll have the link in your email to see what you missed. The question we did have from Leslie, I know a couple slides ago you had been talking about different ways in engaging with your team. And she asked, what are some good ways to celebrate? Because I think celebration was one of your tasks.
Yeah, I think that was really important. And I think as far as celebrations, we do everything from small little wins up to big things. So just some of the things off the top of my head is when we get a new client that like books us for DJ service. We're not in the office right now, but we have this like little cowbell, and like somebody downstairs will ring the cowbell if we have a new contract. So that one's super fun, because you definitely want to celebrate the small wins, right? Nowadays, since we're all working from home, sometimes I'll be like, I'll do in the Gmail chat, emergency Zoom call, and then we'll all hop on a Zoom call and kind of like do that cowbell thing there. So you can do something as simple as that. We also do two kind of get-togethers twice a year. One is our team retreat, where we straight up just do something fun. For the past couple years, it's been a whirly ball competition where it's some sort of sport activity. And then at the end of the year, we have our company holiday party where we do awards, we do dinner, and then we do dancing. So that one's always really big for us. And we try to do, during the holiday party, we'll do core value awards. So what I'll do is I'll take our 5 core values, I'll create an award based on that, and then give that to the person who has really kind of led the way with that specific core value. So people definitely look forward to that. When last year, when I was like, I don't think we should do it, I almost caused an uproar. So even if you guys aren't going to do a huge party, I would encourage you to get them involved. I think the other thing you could probably do is, if you guys don't already have this, definitely create a private Facebook group for all of your team, because we will constantly post little kind of celebrations in there, whether it be, let's say a client wrote us a review online, we'll highlight that in there, tag the team member and be like, oh my God, you know, look, DJ Anastasia rocked that event. Look at what this bride said. And then sometimes we'll do like just little highlights when we do weekly recaps of like what's going on for the week when we get back into busy season. We'll throw things like the reviews in there. Or if someone, like let's say one of the DJs created a killer mix, we'll put that in there. Let's say a photo booth attendant went above and beyond and we had a wedding planner who reached out to us after the event, we might highlight that too. So hopefully, Leslie, that kind of helps, you know, give you some ideas. But again, I think the point of me sharing all those is you don't have to be extravagant. It can be something that is just as simple as just showing, you know, your team member you appreciate them, right? I don't know if you guys have read, we probably already know the book, The 5 Love Languages, right? Well, they have a version, 5 Love Languages of team members. And so that would probably be important to read, because some people's love language in the office space is words of affirmation, and some people it's gifts. And so I think deciding, you know, how to celebrate each of your team members individually is probably important too. Oh, we do send birthday emails and text messages, so that's always fun. Oh, here's a couple questions that just came in.
Oh.
Yes, Grace, you should. Hire slow, fire fast. Do you want me to tell you why? And everyone says this, but so the thought process behind that is if you hire slow, you're hiring to make sure that you make the right decision. And as long as you're doing that, and you feel free to add more to kind of what our process is, but we don't rush that at all. We think it through. I ask everyone on the team to make sure they're a right fit. I mean, our hiring process sometimes can take 2 weeks to a month, depending on the position. And fire fast, I mean, as hard as that is, and that's the worst part of my job, oh my gosh, the failure that can come behind that. If we do not fire fast, it can create cancer in your culture and it will take everything down. In 2015, I kept a team member on for a year longer than I should have. And because I did that, when she finally exited, it took half of my staff with her and I had to rebuild everything. So it's not fire fast. The last thing you want to do once you build a great culture of people who trust you and are motivated and are going, you can't have anything stop that train, because one person who has a negative attitude or the wrong output or outlook, that, you know, say for example, if they're in another office space and let's say they're at your team retreat and they're like, oh, I just can't stand it. Like I only get paid X amount of dollars per event. And then they start all those rumors with someone else. It's bad. You got to keep the positivity. So yes, 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 and yes. Fire as fast as you can. As hard as that is. We have another question that just came in. It is, I know you mentioned shadowing me for a day before they get hired. Do you pay them for training or no? So let me answer that question in 2 ways. So for those of you who jumped on late, one of the things that we do when we're hiring DJs is we'll go through interview process 1, then there's a second interview, and then if they make it through those 2 interviews, they shadow me for an entire day that I'm DJing from the time I get to the warehouse until the very end of the event. They do not get paid for that shadow day. Number 1, it's because I want to see how dedicated they actually are. And if they're willing to spend 10 hours with me and really kind of dig into the job, then I know it's that gives me some sort of level of dedication. Number 2, I want to spend as much time with them as I possibly can, because it's so difficult for me to know in a 45-minute interview who this real person is. I want to know the real person, right? And then so the second part to that question is, do I pay them for training? And the answer is yes. And so for us, all of our team members are W-2 employees, so they do get paid for everything they do in training. So whether they're in I call it the warehouse part of our training, where it's kind of like textbook and then it's hands-on, like I've got my mixer behind me. So like we're teaching them how to mix. They get paid minimal pay, just $10 an hour for that. And then they get event pay when they're shadowing us on events. We had a really hard time, and I don't know if I might be able to get away with it now. I'm not sure. I don't want to say get away with, but in the beginning, nobody wanted to learn to be a DJ for free. So I had to figure out what that formula was on how do I pay them and how do I make my money back in order to make sure, that it was a partnership. So yay, I'm glad you learned something. Thank you guys. That was fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kristin. We really appreciate it. And everyone, our next seminar is next Tuesday at 2:00. Is a contracting, rewriting your contracts for post-COVID-19. That's free for members and $10 for non-members. So you can sign up for that now. And then we have a seminar every Tuesday at 2:00 for the next 3 weeks after this. So check them out. All right. Thanks, everyone. And
Thank you guys.
I'll give you guys the right link for next week. I promise. All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.